on it.
Good evening, and welcome to the Care and View, the online health and social care platform free to access to absolutely everybody. We are the podcast that explores the heart and soul of social care. Tonight, we're diving into the world of key performance indicators and SMART goals, the building blocks for measuring success and driving improvement, especially for our audience tonight in social care. So we're going to explore KPIs, more than just numbers, how they provide insights into quality, efficiency, and outcomes. We're going to look at setting SMART goals. Now, we don't just mean SMART as in, oh, I'm clever. We're thinking specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-based, or time-bound. And we're looking at how, as a care manager and a team member, or anybody really who's passionate about making a difference within their actual service, within social care, we're looking at how we can give you all of those tips tonight. But before we get started and we dive right into that, don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit that like button. We are live at this moment in time across YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. You also get access to our YouTube podcast on that as well. And again, completely free. www.thecaringview.co.uk. I'm going to break just for a second and go, Mark, is it ready yet, or are we still waiting?
Mark's frantically clicking away. No, I think we're still waiting at the moment, sadly.
Still waiting. Please keep an eye out because our new website will be launching imminently and it is gorgeous. www.thecaringview.co.uk for all of our free resources, podcast episodes, our blogs, our suppliers, our sponsors, our partners. Everything is on there completely free to access. The reason that we can do this free for everybody in social care is thanks to our absolutely generous sponsors. So without further ado, roll call. We have Prosperwell, the UK's leading digital marketing agency. Again, I say this every single week, but if you know Tea with Toby, Smooth Toby, Gorgeous Toby, go check them out. They're absolutely fab. We have CBAT, Care Business Associates Training. Big shout out to Paul Blaine. 3 weeks' time, he's going to be 50, and he is swole. I mean, like he's the Hulk right now. If you don't follow him, go and follow him. He's like, no underwear shots recently, but do go check them out. CBAT for all of your health and social care training needs. We have Attis Care by Attis Insurance Brokers. Not only are they the comprehensive care coverage and proactive risk management people that you need in your lives, but they are there on the other end of the phone to give you support and advice. So please do go check them out. We have Log My Care, the intuitive care management system, still rolling with their freemium version as well as their paid versions. Absolutely fab platform for anybody wanting to move into the world of digital social care records. Maybe you currently use someone and you think, oh, God, they're a bit naff. Go check out Log My Care. And like I say, try out their freemium version. And last but not least for tonight, but we are launching a brand new sponsor tonight. More on that in a second, is Florence. Florence directly connecting health and social care professionals around the country with organisations, shifts, and training. Do go check them out. They are fab. I use them, and I'm not just saying that. I do use them within our services, and they're really, really good. I did say we were launching a new sponsor tonight, and this one isn't a shameless plug. Not that they're all shameless plugs, but this one is going to directly benefit everybody. Mark and I are over the moon to announce that we are officially partnering with UK Care Week. So the Caring View is going to be live at UK Care Week, and we don't just mean one talk. We don't just mean two talks. We don't just mean three talks. There is going to be the very first Caring View Theatre live across both days at UK Care Week. It is going to be Caring View led. It is going to be fun. It is going to be sexy. It is going to be educational. It's going to be hip. It's going to blow everything out of the water. It's going to be incredible. If you do enjoy the show and you do enjoy meeting up with us at the trade shows, please do come to UK Care Week. Pre-registration is live now. So head over to ukcareweek.com. I'm not going to read it out because it's very, very lengthy. But go check them out. We will pop it into the comments for everyone to go and pre-register. We're going to be doing around 10 to 12 talks. They are going to be highly beneficial. They're going to have learning outcomes. They're going to have free resources attached to them. And we're not doing them all. We're going to be really, really lazy and hand over the stage to the experts that usually join us on these shows. So please do go check us out. We will release more information as we get our guests and our talk slots booked in. If there's anything in particular that you would like us to have on those stages, if you do want to think, actually, I could really do with knowing more about that and having some free resources that help me go and implement that within my service, let us know. Drop us a comment tonight, drop us an email, and I'm sure we can try and work something into our schedule. Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Yes, good evening. Good evening. Great introduction. Can take a breath.
Long introduction.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yes, I have hair. It's the only time I'm going to say it tonight. I will be playing with it out through that. You know, I'm like a child that's just discovered that he's got genitalia. I'm like this constantly, like, ooh, what's this? So absolutely love it. You'll have seen on LinkedIn over the weekend, I put a post up. It is a wig. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to break down some stigma here. I've not miraculously reinvigorated the follicles in my head overnight. I have got a hair system. I have paid for it. It is stuck on my head, and I'm sticking with it. Pun intended. But it has made me feel so much more confident. It's made me happier. It's made me, I love it. And I urge anyone out there that is thinking, you know, oh, I'm really ashamed or I'm embarrassed about my hair. Should I go and try it? Should I go and do it? I say yes. Go look at it. I mean, don't let anyone or what anyone else thinks, you know, sort of influence what you're going to do. But yes, no, I'm really, really good. And I'm even better because Kavita's joining us tonight. Kavita Brown from LDG Training. Good evening, and how are you? Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, and congratulations as well on that big announcement. I'm good. A little bit of a cold, but other than that, I'm good. Not COVID, just a bit of a cold. Sifty cold. Feel a bit blocked up, but other than that, I'm good. Raring to go. Get my teeth into this one.
Well, honestly, Kavita, it's absolutely great to have you back, and I constantly reference your previous episodes, especially the future of appraisals and supervisions, because they were a really good conversation. If you did miss Kavita's previous episode with us, go and check out Series 4 on YouTube. We have had a really, really good discussion around the future of supervisions and appraisals and other things as well. So please do go check that out. But Mark, over to you. I need to let my voice rest a second.
No, that is okay. And likewise, I think that conversation, if you did miss it on supervisions, it was just really forward thinking. We've got a lot of people, even now, come to us about it and are looking for different templates and bits and pieces. And actually, it's really nice to say, scrap the template, just do what you think is right for you and your service and your team, and actually the rest will follow. But tonight we are on KPIs, key performance indicators, and SMART goals. So I think for many people, this will either be really exciting. For some people, they'll have KPIs in place that are unachievable, non-inspiring, demotivating. And I think tonight, hopefully, we'll leave with some food for thought and, just like that supervision show, actually a new outlook on kind of how we set those goals and our KPIs. So I guess the first question I've got for you, Kavita, is we'll start with KPIs and then we'll go to SMART goals in a bit. There'll be many organizations out there that have them set for them. What's the importance, or would you recommend that people set these with their managers, with their teams, or is it best that actually they come from above and then it's down to the manager and the teams to achieve them? What would be your recommendation there in terms of setting them in the early place?
100%. You need to set it with the individual manager. You can't. I know many organizations are out there. They will set KPIs for their organization, and then each service will have to meet those KPIs. But I think the biggest problem with KPIs is that people just don't understand them, and it's just something else we have to do as managers, another report I have to submit, and nobody really fully understands them because they haven't bought into them. And the only way to buy into those KPIs and fully understand them is to get them agreed together. Because even if you've got, for example, one organization and they may have, say they've got 4 care homes, one organisation, their head office, as we call them, they are setting the KPIs as a business. This is what we want. They're setting the future direction. We spoke about, future directions in one of the other episodes as well. And they're measuring their performance against that strategic direction that they've taken. They're obviously going to set their KPIs. So you've now got these 4 individual homes. But I think you have to look at these 4 individual homes as individual homes, because certain KPIs may not be as applicable to one service as it is to a different service. So I think that's where you need to have that conversation with the managers, the registered managers, the manager in charge of that service, and to try to agree, what do these KPIs look like for this particular service? Because there's so many different variables out there. Just a basic thing of where a service is located. That may impact their recruitment. It may impact their retention of where a particular service is recruited. So if you've got an organisation saying, we want our recruitment to be X% or our retention rates need to be X%, actually for a service which is maybe in a much more remote location, not a great bus route, especially at weekends, etc., especially in the evenings, they're going to struggle to achieve that. And they're always going to be, I suppose, in this league table of these 4 services, they're always probably going to be at the lowest ranking for that. So it doesn't actually inspire, it doesn't motivate that manager or even indeed that team to be achieving that KPI. It almost seems like another stick to bash somebody over the head with.
No, absolutely. And I think in the past, I've had some that are unachievable and they are demotivating. And it's really hard for you as the manager to sell them to your team to get behind, because you know that you can't achieve them. Your team knows that you can't achieve them. In terms of the perfect number, is there a perfect number of KPIs to have? Because I've worked for services where you have 12, 13, 14, and then I've worked in contracts where you've got 5. And is there an ideal number that services should be?
Great question. I've looked into that, and I don't think there is an ideal. I haven't come across anything. If anybody has, let us know. But I haven't come across anything that is the ideal number. But what I have come across, and obviously to work in practice, is the fewer KPIs you have, the more likely people are going to be working towards those KPIs, the more likely people will report on those KPIs. I've been into services where they've got, I don't know, something like 50 different KPIs, but to keep track of that KPI, to keep monitoring those KPIs and reporting on them just becomes a logistical nightmare. So I think the fewer you have, the real important ones, so to speak, that makes a difference. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody within that service needs to have the same KPIs. So, for example, you're, as a registered manager overseeing the whole service, they may have hypothetically six KPIs, but they could give another further 3 KPIs to the deputy manager or 2 KPIs to the clinical lead, or, you can have more, but different people with that different level of responsibility. As long as it all goes back, I know the show that we've done previously about having your vision, your values, your strategic direction. I think as long as those KPIs are linked back to that vision and the strategy your organisation, your service is taking to achieve that vision, then you're on the right path. Because again, everybody will be working towards that direction of achievement as well.
No, I love that. And sorry, Mark.
No, go on.
No, I was going to say, I think what's really important to note as well is, your different levels of seniority or your different positions within the home. The KPIs of the registered manager may be directly reliant on the KPIs they set for their team members as well. So it might be that the KPIs that the registered manager needs to hit are not achievable if the rest of the team don't pull the weight as well. So it's like when you think to yourself, but actually there's like a million things we need to do in a care home. Well, that's fine. Delegate them out. But it might be the things that you've delegated out directly result in an achievement of the top KPIs.
Yes.
So it's around understanding responsibility and accountability throughout the service, rather than just pinning everything on, say, like the registered manager. But that's why, as managers, as leaders, we need to be strong in our ability to delegate, so that we can achieve what we need to achieve without doing everything ourselves. Then, it's to be twee. We've got that whole adage, which there is no I in team.
Absolutely.
And we've all got to be able to work together to be able to achieve it. So no, I love those thoughts.
Absolutely. And I think when you're right about that whole delegation tool, but when you're looking at KPIs, they should be seen as something that will motivate that individual. But equally for you as a manager, you'll be able to I suppose, manage that individual's performance as well. So for a particular individual, say it's a frontline worker, it could be that their KPI maybe is to reduce their non-attendance at work. That's the KPI that they're working towards. You know, we can turn that into a SMART objective, SMART goal as well, but that's their KPI. And actually that then links back to potentially that as an organisation, as a service, the manager is trying to reduce agency spend. That's a KPI that they're working on for the next 6 months, to reduce agency spend by X amount. So individually, I can delegate that bit of responsibility to my team and team members when we're talking about trying to reduce sickness absence levels. And we could have another one linked to that to make sure, you know, your deputy managers, your senior carers, your care team leaders, your coordinators, etc., are undertaking those regular supervisions to support employees' well-being. So it's reducing that sickness level. And that all goes back to that same KPI that the manager's still got, that's come from top down, of reducing agency spend. But we're just turning it into something different when it comes to our team that we're managing.
I thought Mark was going to come in, but I want to do a segue now into SMART goals, because it's great to have these KPIs, but and I feel like you've just pretty much lent into it there, and it's how do we achieve them smartly? And I think that's something, isn't it? So it's like, you know, reduce turnover, right? Brilliant. Let's be specific now. How are we going to measure this? How are we going to achieve this? What's the relevance, and what sort of timescale are we looking at? So Kavita, please, for the uninitiated, give us a quick rundown of what SMART and SMART goals are.
Okay, so I've delivered SMART objectives, SMART goals, targets, you know, lots of different ways. People call it lots of different things. I've always used the term objectives, but whether it's an action, a target, you know, a goal that you're working towards, it doesn't matter. It always needs to be SMART. Through all the training that I've delivered over the years, and when we come to SMART objectives, there's always a handful of people that, yep, we know what it is, we know what it stands for. There's lots of people that never heard of it before, and people, I think, over the years have become quite confused, and I suppose they overthink SMART goals, SMART objectives. So SMART, as you were saying right at the beginning, you know, it's got to be very specific. What is it you're asking this individual to do? So rather than, if we use the example of coming into work late, as rather than me setting somebody in an objective of, you need to reduce your lateness, I need to be a lot more specific by what I mean by that. So maybe I need to be saying to the individual and having the conversation with the individual and getting their agreement to reduce their lateness from 3 times a week to once a week. You know, obviously we want to reduce it completely, but let's take it in smaller steps for this particular individual. So, you know, setting that SMART objective very specifically, that you will reduce your late coming into work late from 3 times a week to once a week. And then you've got to make sure that SMART goal, you can measure it. So that's where the specific bit comes in. Because if I said to somebody, you should reduce your lateness, and left it at that, and then a week later, I'm like, you're still coming into work late. Why are you coming into work late? We had this conversation a week ago. You agreed it. Look, it's written down in your supervision. The individual will turn around and say, well, I have reduced it. I used to come and work every day late. Now I come once a week, I come in early. So as far as they're concerned, they've achieved that SMART objective. So people will try to play you. It's the same as e-learning when you say, you know, you've got to complete all your e-learning by the end of the month. And then you look at it and somebody has gone and attempted it, but they've failed every single e-learning course. So they could turn around and say, but you told me to complete it and I completed it. You didn't tell me to pass it. So you've got to be really specific on what you're saying. Otherwise, you're just going to go around the houses again, having to have that conversation. And then emotions, you know, come into play with that as well. So be really specific and make sure you can measure it. What does that actually look like? What does good look like? What are you expecting for that individual? And I think that kind of starts touching on in our sector where we're not very good at having those difficult conversations. We kind of go around the houses. Maybe it's our politeness as British people. We go around the houses, we fluff it, and we talk about everything rather than actually the issue we want to actually discuss with that individual. So you've got to be able to measure it. It's got to be achievable and realistic. Now, those two, I would always say, come in hand. And that's the conversation to have with the individual. This goes back to your original question, Mark, about organisations setting these KPIs as well. You've got to have the conversation with those people who are going to be the ones, you know, trying to achieve these SMART objectives. So is it achievable for that individual? Is it realistic? If I was to say, right, you need to update that care plan and get that full review of that care plan done by 8 o'clock this evening, that's really not achievable and realistic. In my head, it is, because I'm not doing that person's job. But for that individual, it's not. And now it's not a motivator. It becomes a big stress for that individual, and they probably won't achieve it. So you've got to talk to them to say, I want you to complete it by Friday. And they say, actually, I can't complete it until Monday. So let's try to have that conversation to reach that midway point. Bit of a compromise is required. And always have a time frame. One of the most important things is SMART goals. Make sure you've got that date set in stone and everybody's aware about it as well. And as I said earlier on, I think when it comes to SMART goals, people get a bit confused with them and they feel like they almost have to write a sentence for the S, a sentence for the M, a sentence for the A, but you can consolidate it all together. And I would say your starting point, if you're a bit confused with them, your starting point is just make sure it's specific, make sure there's a time frame. You can't go far wrong if you've got the S and you've got the T. You can't really go far wrong as long as you're having a conversation with that individual.
Just listening to you there, and I've got a question off the back of that in terms of reviewing. But I was listening to you there talking about how a lot of the time in social care we go around the houses as opposed to having that conversation. And I think about my own career journey and the training that I've had in kind of a manager level. And I think many organisations will fall into this category, and many managers listening will think, hopefully, probably relate, is that as a frontline care worker, you get so much training, and then you get a bit more when you become a senior care worker. But the further up you go, the less training you get. And actually, I was listening to you there thinking, actually, not many people have that conversation and the training around difficult conversations. So actually, and it's all the variables as well, isn't it? It's actually, if you're a manager of a small service, you've got to be their friend 1 minute, but then their manager the next, because you need to cover the rotas. So you can't be too harsh. You've got to be almost friendly to convince them to do the shifts. And I was listening to you there talk about the time frame, which absolutely is crucial. With regards to reviewing that, so say your time frame you set for somebody is in a month's time, should you be reviewing that along the way, or should you be 100%. Waiting until you get to that month?
Yeah, 100%. This is where those measurements come into play. So the M comes into that. I would always say, do not wait until the end of that time frame. Okay, have you done? Let me check if they've done it. They haven't done it. You've got to be, as a manager, we've got to be nurturing people. We've got to be developing people. We've got to be supporting people. But equally, it is our responsibility, as we have that accountability to oversee everything. So that helicopter view, as I call it. So we don't want to be sat on somebody's shoulder and micromanaging them, because majority of people don't like that style of management, don't like that style of leadership. But if you say to somebody, right, by the end of the month, XYZ needs to be completed, then absolutely agree with them beforehand some check-in points. And it could be, end of month's 2 weeks away, we'll check in week 1, we'll check in, in 10 days' time, just to make sure that person's on track to achieve it. Because something else could have happened. Something else could have come up. An emergency could have happened. The person may be on sick leave or needs to take emergency leave for a reason. So actually, we will need to adjust things as we go along, because that time frame may now not be achievable and not be realistic for that person. But equally, some people may think, oh yeah, I'll do it, and I'll do it in a bit, and a day goes, and 2 days goes, 3 days goes, and then they're right near the deadline day, and our stress levels are really high and they haven't been able to achieve it. So as a manager, if I'm just doing those little check-ins, just overseeing, are they on track? It gives me that indication that they are on track to complete it, rather than I'm having the, oh my God, they haven't done it moment, which tends to happen a lot. So we still have that level of responsibility. Going back to what you were saying earlier, Adam, when we're talking about delegation, if we have delegated a task and responsibility, yes, initially that person is going to be undertaking it. But we, as managers who have delegated that task, responsibility, whatever it may well be, we still have a bit of accountability and responsibility there. We don't want to. Delegation is not, here's a piece of work, can you do it for me? Here's an audit, can you get it done by the end of the week? That's just dumping my work on somebody else. That's not delegation. So if we do it properly, we will be hopefully putting those measures in place, those check-in moments in place, just to make sure somebody's on track. And equally, do they need additional support? Are they struggling with an aspect of it that I can support them with, so they will actually achieve it? And then that becomes a great motivator for somebody as well.
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I'm a huge believer in racy. Now, I know people often hear me talking about being sexy. I don't mean racy as in lingerie and, stockings. RACI. I'm going to try and get this right. Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's around, if we do, like say, delegate those things out, the people you delegate to become accountable for getting it done. But actually, you're responsible to make sure it happens.
Yes.
So although you have delegated that work out, if those people do not do what you've asked them to do, it's your responsibility. And if they don't do it, it's on your head because you've delegated it out. So it's around that responsible, achievable, consulted, informed side of things. There's loads of free information out there on RACI.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend you do some RACI charts for your organizations. Figure out who's responsible for what, but then who's accountable for what, who needs to be consulted on what, who needs to just be informed about stuff. I think as well, when you were talking just then, Kavita, about delegating these things out and checking in on them on that regular basis, part of that achievable for me has always been around resources. Like, what do you need to be able to do this? Like, I'm giving you a job here to do, and we need to understand how you're going to achieve it. So do you have the right training? Do you have the right skills? Do you have the right equipment? Do you have the right resources? Do you have the right people? Because if they don't have any of that, actually, it's not achievable.
Do you have the time to do it?
Exactly. And if you don't have those things, it's not achievable. You're not smart.
Yeah, I remember speaking to a registered manager, registered nurse, not so long ago, and she was given quite a big task to undertake, need to be completed in a week or so's time. And she did say to me, "But I have no supernumerary time. I'm on the floor, I'm on shift all of this time for me to complete it. How am I supposed to complete it?" So yeah, time is definitely, make sure you give people time to actually do it. Sorry, Mark, I interrupted.
No. I think you made a really good point there, and I think time will be one factor. And I was just thinking about, if off the back of Adam there talking about resources, because a large number of these resources that people will need will probably be digital, or in the next kind of couple of years will all be digital. So if you've got an employer that says can't use the system, or they don't like the system, or there's something up with the system, it doesn't work for whatever reason, and that's something they're telling you, but you've got no power to either change it or do anything with it because that's just what you've bought and you're tied in for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is. Where do you go there in terms of supporting and upskilling people? Because obviously you wouldn't want to take them backwards to paper, because that would defeat the objective that you've probably got as your own KPI and SMART goal in embedding the digital system. What would your advice be there?
Obviously train that person. That individual may need more support, and it happens a lot in our sector. Hopefully, if you have gone digital, you may have a digital champion. You've probably got at least one, if not two, members in your team who have just embraced it. They love it. They're just cracking on with it. Off they go. They know how it works inside out. They may have used it in previous organizations as well, so they're just waiting for it. So if you've got digital champions, they're great to be able to sit down with individuals and actually show them right from the basics and really giving them that support, sitting next to them and showing them, or budging up with them on a care call, for example, and saying this is how we actually do it. But I think it's just also realizing with some of our workforce, they're not going to be the ones that are just off they go, here they go, and off they go, and they'll do it. Even in a year, 2 years time, they may just be a lot slower. So again, when we're thinking about what tasks we're giving individuals and we're thinking about time that they need to do it, you just need to factor that in as well. We can't really say, well, everybody else can do it, why can't Nelly do it? Well, Nelly's just a little bit slower. She's going to take her time. She will do it, but whereas it may take somebody half an hour, it might take Nelly an hour and a half. So as long as we're happy to delegate that to her and give her the time to do it, and hopefully to upskill herself, because not everybody's going to be super quick on digital. People are still, even in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, there's still going to be people that are a lot slower and have to take their time to use it. A bit like when laptops were introduced. I'm sure that was, and PCs were introduced from the old typewriters. I'm sure that was the same. You still had employees a year, 2 years, 5 years later who were still a little bit more slower on it as well. I'm sure there are local colleges that still do courses, from really basic courses on digital, Obviously, people become more confident with their digital skills as well. And that's another area we can point people into as well. But I would say when looking for a digital platform, always try to choose something which is, for me, it's always about who's going to be using it. And it's usually our frontline carers. So always choose one that is most easiest and the most simplest way for our carers to be inputting the data. Don't choose one which is easier for me as a manager to pull my reports. It might take me a little bit longer to pull my reports, but for my staff, it's a lot easier and it's more user friendly for them to use. Because otherwise, your reports that you pull would never mean anything if the data being submitted is not correct. So you need to keep that your staff team there. But yeah, I think that is always going to be a challenge that we have. I mean, and not only, and I'm not trying to generalize saying it's mainly the older workers. You may have somebody that's dyslexic. You may have an individual with learning disabilities, and I'm not saying they will, but they may well struggle when it comes to digital as well. So how do we make it a bit more easier for them?
100% agree. And I mean, Mark and I did WISPIC, West Sussex Partners in Care, recently, and I learned a saying there that I absolutely love, and that sounds like a you problem. And I absolutely love that saying, and I promised I'm going to try and fit it in where I can. And I think there's something around, as managers, as leaders, we don't delegate in our own urgency. If we have failed and we have mismanaged our time, and all of a sudden a deadline is looming, like, oh my God, I need this stuff doing, you must do it by the end of this week. Sorry, your mismanagement of your time is not my issue. It is not achievable for me, that. And I will tell you it's not achievable. I'm going to be upfront about that right now. You've not given me enough time. So I think sometimes as managers, we have to go accountability. I've messed up. We need to get this done as soon as possible. The deadline was Friday. We're not going to achieve that. I will take that on the chin. How quick do you reckon we can come together as a team to get this done? I'm sorry that I'm putting it on us, but I really need us to do this. We need to do this as a team. And just own up to our own mistakes, because it is not fair to put urgency onto team members when it's not their fault. I'm just going to come to the comments quickly. James from LinkedIn has said CTRMW model. I was frantically Googling that in the background because I was like, I have no clue what this is. But luckily, James is amazing. And he came back with clarity training, resources, motivation, and well-being. 100% love that idea. James, if you know or have more information on that and you want to share that with us, we are more than receptive. James also said that training becomes self-led learning, networking, conferencing, etc. as managers. And I tend to find this is where the learning is that is truly valuable to developing a management style. I couldn't agree more. We have Tina. Tina's watching tonight. Good evening, Tina. Interesting. I teach articulated expectations, which is very much the same. It's about clear language and address killer phrases. And I love that, killer phrases.
Killer phrases, yeah, nice.
There's always those sort of people that have like pin comments for me. So you're holding a balloon and you're dead excited. We're going to introduce this, and they just come in with a pin, don't they? And go, ha ha! No, I'm killing that dead. Actually, no. Shh. Let's work together. Let's achieve stuff together. And Petros came in when we were talking about sort of the lateness example, and that there are cases sometimes that people are late beyond their control. Childcare, flexible working could be a suggestion for the example mentioned. Obviously, people are not always genuine. What I'm trying to say is that it is indeed really important how you ask the questions and what goals you set.
Yeah,
now I remember,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember, I can't remember how long ago it was. I was working alongside a manager, and someone, not in this organization, and someone had come in and asked a question, and the manager sat there, I've told you 3 times, and off they went. And so I just said, let's do a bit of role play, because I just want to do some sort of professional observation here. And I do think you could have handled that situation better. I'll be you, and you be the person that's just come in. So ask me the exact same thing. Watch the, whatever the question was. I don't know. What do you think? And the manager just went, put it back. Put it back. We need to be empowering our teams to solve these problems. And sometimes the way people solve problems is to come and air it out with somebody else. They might not necessarily want the answer. They just need that confidence in being able to speak out loud to someone and go, yeah, I do know what I'm doing. That's absolutely fine. it's not the best quality in someone, because actually we do need people to be autonomous. But actually what it shows is that really progressive growth mindset, that they're keen to try and find the answers, and they're showing you that they're doing it. What they're lacking, evidently, is the confidence and support from a leader.
Yes.
And that is what they need. And that's where we need to go as leaders. You're not achieving what you're doing. Could I be doing more?
Yeah.
Can I do more to help you? Should I be doing more to support you?
I think that's a great example. It's something I heard quite some time ago now, and I can't for the life of me remember where I heard it, but I remember somebody was saying to me once, years ago now, that what we sometimes as managers, what we have created within our services is almost a staff team that are very reactive. And if we think back, we look back thinking, why they're reactive? So over silly things, for example, such as a manager, you walk past and the bin's not empty. You're like, why is nobody empty the bin? And as soon as you say that, people empty the bin. But why are people not just being proactive over these sort of things? Why aren't they spotting it? And if you look back, it comes back down to exactly what you were just saying. Quite often we think as managers, as leaders, if we give everybody the answers, we're a good manager and leader, because I've got all the knowledge, I know everything, and I'm really good because I'm helping everybody. But by doing that, and by not saying to people, what do you think you should do? What would you like me to do? We almost tell them that they're not allowed to be solution focused. And so therefore they stop becoming, over years, your staff team stop becoming proactive, and they're just reactive. They're just waiting for instruction, because we've almost conditioned them that we know the answer, so we'll always tell you what to do. And then you get managers that become really frustrated because nobody's proactive. But it's because we almost spoon feeding them the answers, or in some cases we don't spoon feed them the answers as well. So yeah, I think that's a great analogy to use, which I think then comes back to your SMART goals. You know, like did you say it was Petrus that had the previous comment? You're absolutely right. It's about looking at those SMART goals, but looking at it per individual. Yeah. So absolutely, saying it's really important how you ask questions and what goals you set. You've got to look at it per individual. Going back to our digital conversation, you know, for some people that SMART goal for them might be, you know, a lot shorter time frame. For other people, it might be longer. For some people who would genuinely have childcare, you know, issues, or they've got personal difficulties they're going through at this moment of time, it may be that you set that SMART goal for them, that actually they try to reduce their lateness to 5 minutes late per shift, for example. So you're still setting them a goal, but you're not setting it you have to be, you know, on shift 5 minutes before handover, etc. We want to be flexible. We want to be nurturing. Recruitment, as we know, is tough, and it's probably going to get tougher. We've got a lot of competition out there, not just within social care, but against, you know, your tourism, your retail, your hospitality sectors, etc. as well. We have to embrace that flexible working. We really have to be a bit more mindful of how we can support our team. Sorry, interrupted again.
No, you don't have to apologise. And I think, yeah, when we're setting those for part-time staff, actually, again, it comes back to that realistic expectation of whether they've got that time to be able to do it, especially if they only work 1 or 2 days a week and you're only giving them a couple of weeks to achieve it. And I was listening to you talk there around the spoon feeding. And I think some of that is on the regulator's head, in terms of that we have taken that autonomy away from our staff, because everything's become such a tick box exercise to be able to evidence what we're doing, to be able to make sure it's being done, that actually you have a handover form that's full of every single task that you can think of to make sure it's done. But then anything that's not on there, your staff don't do, because it's not on there, because they're just using that as if it's their guide and their Bible for that one shift. And it's almost taken that power back from the regulator, knowing that your team have done it. And it's going to be that fine balance, because there'll be a number of people, especially if there's people working in social care, that won't want to do that. Other sectors will very easily be able to do that and give that power back to the workforce to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss relevance of SMART goals, because there'll be some people, and I've been there as a manager and still very much advocate this, that we plough in so much time into business objectives and people having business objectives, but it might be that you've got somebody that doesn't want to progress in their career, which is absolutely fine. But I always encourage them then to have a work goal, but also a personal goal. Where do we stand in terms of personal goals versus ones that are work-based? Would you advocate for that, or would you say actually they all need to be work-based?
100%. You know, we should be, one of the quality statements about our staff well-being, we should be, your staff well-being is not just when they're at work. We should be looking at people as a whole. So we deliver person-centered care. Hopefully now we're delivering it really well to our clients, our residents, and service users. I'm a passionate believer of person-centered leadership and person-centered managing of individuals. So I think if people have got a personal goal, and that could be actually to learn to play the piano, for example, a new skill that they want to learn, then why can't we support them with a personal goal? And you will have individuals who, when we think about having these supervisions, appraisals, setting SMART goals with people, and we always seem to think that it's about career progression. It's about a new qualification you want to do. But there are many, many people who are quite happy where they are. They have no desire to climb up that ladder whatsoever. But you can still set goals about, our clients' needs will change consistently. Things change around us. So they may not want to develop and become the next senior care or care coordinator, etc. But actually you can still set them a goal to develop within their roles, because things are always changing. It may be to, focus more attention or find out more about CQC, for example, with this big change that we're going through. It could be that you have a resident that's moving in with Parkinson's, and it's the first time we've had a resident with Parkinson's, or we did have one years ago. So it's to develop their knowledge within that area as well. But I think with personal, their own goals outside of work, there's always going to be that overlap. If people are achieving outside of work and we're supporting them to achieve certain things, their personal desires outside of work, that emotional loyalty becomes even stronger and greater. And their commitment to work, their motivation for work, people will remember their engagement at work, then their productivity at work will increase as well if they're happier. And we've supported them with that. And I know, I'm not saying that we have the money, we're going to go out and pay for piano lessons, etc. But it may just be that this individual, the only piano lesson that they can find, which is within their budget, is on a Thursday at 7:00, but their shift doesn't finish until 8. So actually, can we do something there to support that individual for once a fortnight to finish at 6:30, so we're able to do this piano lesson? Are we able to? Which comes back into that being flexible. Sorry, Adam.
No, don't be sorry. I'm just soaking it all up. I'm taking it all in. I think this is really, really interesting. Mark, you piqued my interest when you said relevancy, because, and this isn't, I don't know if there's a set standard for things, but I always try and use the R in SMART to be to represent relevance, because I think there's also something important around not creating actions for the sake of creating actions, not creating goals for the sake of creating goals. So it's great that you want to do this. Why? What's the point? What are we going to achieve? What is the bigger outcome? What is the impact of this? And I always like the whole ROI sort of thing. So reason, outcome, impact, instead of return on investment, reason, outcome, impact. Start with impact. What is the impact? What is the impact that we are looking for? And once we understand that, we know what the outcome needs to be. And once we've got the outcome, we've got the reason. We're going to do this. This is how it's going to do, and this is the impact it's going to have. Otherwise, we can find ourselves creating actions for the sake of creating actions, and actually they don't contribute to anything. I'm doing a lot of work with our teams at the moment around action planning, and I know you said you don't necessarily need to spell it out, SMART, but that's the way that I'm going through it with people, just to sort of say, look, make sure we've got everything here. So if you're going to create an action, be specific. Then be measurable. How are we going to check that it's being done? What do you need to be able to achieve this? So if you're assigning this action to somebody else, room 20 needs painting, well, that's fine. You're obviously assigning this to the maintenance team. Do they need to know what color paint it is? Do they need to know what time of day they can go and do this? Is the person going to be in their room all the time? All that information that they can just take this action away, go and do it, and then come back and report to you. But then the relevancy. Is it because we want that room painting because there's nothing else for the maintenance team to do? Or is it because that person wants the room painting themselves? It could be anything when it comes down to those actions, as long as we empower the team to understand the wider impact. Because if we deny them that knowledge of what those outcomes and goals are going to have on everybody else, they don't buy into it. They couldn't care less. If they don't understand what that impact's going to be, they're just like, why should I do it? I have no idea why we're doing this. I don't get it. I've had this argument with the council and with the ICBs for God knows how long now, because They take all our capacity tracker data, they take our PAMS data, they take our quality data, and they ask us for surveys, and they ask us for this, and they ask us for that. And blow me, do we ever find out what the outcome is? Do we find out trends? Do we find out themes within the local area? No, do we, bugger? So actually, why should we fill it in? You want us to do this stuff. We need to see something from it. We need to understand why it is you're taking this information. So it's just really around making sure, and this is me just driving down the point. If you're going to be creating actions, don't just create them for the sake of creating them. If you don't need an action, don't do it. You know, it has to be relevant to what your group aim is, to what your home's aim is, to what that individual's aim is. And, you know, let's say there is nurses watching tonight. Let's say the senior carers watching tonight. And let's say there's clinical leads or community managers, whoever watching tonight. Take that SMART goal idea and apply it to your care plans as well. Because everyone has got goals and achievements and outcomes in their care plans. And you might be sat there thinking, well, I don't do action plans and I'm not creating goals and I don't have KPIs. No. But the resident that you're supporting might have their own KPIs. By the end of the next 2 months, I want to have increased by 2 kilograms of weight. Brilliant. How are we going to do that? Your specific is 2 kilograms. How are we going to measure that? I need to be weighed weekly. Perfect. Is it achievable? Not unless I have a fortified diet. So we need a fortified diet, which is high in protein. Brilliant. What's the relevancy? Well, actually, this person's BMI has dropped way too low. Their water low is high. Their muscle level is high. So they are at risk of pressure injuries. Okay, great. We understand why we're doing this. When do we want to achieve it? This person wants to achieve it in 2 months' time. Perfect. You've got a SMART goal there, but it's a care plan. It's not an action plan. It's a care plan. That's why it's so important everyone understands SMART goals.
Yes.
Maybe I'm talking BS, but that's how my approach to things is.
I'm so glad you raised that. I delivered a training session not so long ago about person-centered care planning, and we spoke at length about SMART goals and putting those into individuals' care plan. You know, so you've done a care plan on mobility care plan. What's the outcome you're really looking for? What's the SMART goal we're heading towards? And for this particular group, when I was delivering it, it was something that they hadn't considered before. You know, they hadn't really explored the SMART goals. It was on their care plan, they're all digital, but it was kind of an area that was kind of missing within that. But there should be always something that we're working towards. So you're absolutely right. Your KPIs, your SMART goals, they should be added to individual care plans. What are people working towards? What do people want? And it could be something as very simple as, I want to continue to live a good quality life. I want to still be able to walk to the toilet unaided. You know, it could be something as that. It could be something, you know, a lot more than that. I know there was another organisation who were working with an individual who has been in bed for quite some time, but one of her outcomes that she wants and her goals that she wants to start walking again. And because they've got a very clear SMART goal, this is what we're achieving within realistic timescales, and they've got, you know, support, physiotherapists, etc. They have managed at the moment. She's able to stand up and stand weight bear, but with the support of using her Zimmer frame. So she hasn't started taking steps, but she's working her way towards that. Now, if that wasn't a really strong goal that they had set, a SMART goal they had set, and they really started to look into it, how can we support this person to do this? Everybody bought into it, everybody was part of it. That lady may still be in bed. She may not be able to stand. So hopefully as months progress, she'll be able to take some steps with some support and then be able to maybe start walking again. I'm not going to say that's for everybody, but I think it's got to be really a strong goal that everybody understands, everybody buys into. So we know we're not just going in and delivering this care, we're going in to support this individual to achieve X, Y, Z. So I think they become so important in care planning.
No, they really do. And I think it's about thinking outside the box with those goals. Like listening to you there, actually, the goal might be that they want to run a marathon. You might know straight away they're not going to be able to run a marathon tomorrow. But actually, what steps in between now and then can they do? You know, is it actually that, you know, I want to go for a walk or a run, you know, 2-3 times a week. And then once you've done that, actually go for a walk or a run every day, and then longer distance, and then to enter. And then actually, before you know it, you supported that person to achieve their goal. Somebody's just put one is micro and one is macro. Somebody, Petros has put, that sounds like me thinking of keto and munching on cake at the same time. And I don't know who this is. Unfortunately, the name hasn't pulled through. Tying in rewards and James, thank you very much, James. Tying in rewards and recognition with personal goals is a good incentive. I'm not big on personal goals, only in far as we are so limited in helping them achieve them. However, to say if you do X, Y, Z, I'll give you 50 quid towards piano lessons may go a long way. I think one thing we did is actually, if you've got staff that have worked in social care for a number of years, when I raised this earlier, and you're spending thousands of pounds on other staff doing their MVQ 2, 3, 5, leadership, whatever it is, actually putting some money aside on the budget, it doesn't have to be 1,000 quid, could be like a couple of hundred quid. Actually, like you just said, goes a long way because it's just appreciating what they want to achieve. And actually, sometimes it can be something that benefits the service. I've had staff in the past, and the personal goal has been around flower arranging or, skills elsewhere. And actually, you can get somebody else, once they've learned it, they can then pass that on to one of the people that you're supporting, and then they can do it together, and it just forms that kind of relationship and lifetime kind of friendship.
Yeah, I like the idea of tying them into the rewards and your incentives as well. I really like that idea. Yeah.
And Adam, I don't know if you've got the name. SMART goals and KPIs, two different things. No. Now I have got a question. Go on,
this is James again.
James, I don't know why your name's not putting through for some reason, but yeah. So two different things. What would you say to that, Kavita?
I think, yes, you can say that they are two different things. You've got your key performance indicators, which most people will see key performance indicators as your business objectives. So as an organization, you may have a certain vision that you want to achieve. You've got your next 3-year strategic plan to achieve it. So as an organization, what are those key performance indicators that you're looking for that you can measure to see if you're on track to be achieving it? And then if we're measuring them on a regular basis, we can see what needs tweaking, what needs amending. Are we on track to achieve what we said we're going to be achieving in year one? I'm sure there's many organizations at the moment, because of the budget announcement, who are now having to re-look at a lot of their KPIs because of the increase in national insurance contributions. And so money that they probably hadn't budgeted for and now need to look, okay, we may have had a 5-year plan to grow by X%, but now we need to relook at that. So I think KPIs for me, I've always seen them as a bit more of a strategic goals for an organization, for a business to be achieving their ambitions, I suppose. But those KPIs need to be, for me, the way I always kind of visualize it in my head, they then need to be turned into SMART goals for your employees. So everybody, whatever you're doing, so maybe a KPI is, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, so if we think about staff retention, because we're spending so much on agency, so much on recruitment costs, we want to spend this money best spent elsewhere. So we want to improve our staff retention. A key performance indicator for us as an organization, we want to achieve, lower staff retention by, I don't know, or increase staff retention by 20%. So that's what we want to achieve by the end of the year. So as a manager, when my organization is giving me that KPI, right, that's what I'm now working towards. What do I need to do to try to achieve this 20% figure? What do my team need to do to achieve it? So that's where your SMART goals start coming into it. That's where you may say to your deputy managers, your seniors, right, your SMART goal for the next 6 months is to make sure you prioritize staff supervisions, nip things in the bud. If there is conflict going in, nip it in the bud, because we're supporting staff wellbeing. That's what we're working towards. And in turn, that will improve staff retention, which goes back to our KPI that we had as an organization. So I think it's always important to turn those KPIs, understand them yourself, and then think, okay, how can my team support me with this? What do they need to do? So we're all working towards that strategic direction as well. So I would say that they are two different things. KPIs are very commonly seen as these are the indicators as us as an organization. Are we performing? Are we not? And you could put that onto employees as well. As a head of your department in the kitchen, for example, or maintenance, what's the key performance indicators that team is working effectively and achieving financial success, but also achieving what we need them to achieve. So you've got your high level kind of KPIs. Your SMART objectives become more personal for individuals. What do I need to do so my chef can achieve his KPIs.
Yeah. And that's where I think where I was going with care planning. So one of the things we are striving to do in social care at the moment is reduce hospital admissions, making sure people die in their preferred place of death. And that is a KPI. We want, I don't know how I want to say all. I know that sounds unachievable, but let's aim for greatness. We want all people who use our service to die in their preferred place. Okay, what do we need to do to achieve that? And that's where our SMART goals come into place. That's where the things that build it come into place. It could be that we want everybody to maintain their chosen weight or their ideal weight. Okay, right. So what are the SMART goals? Let's go into the care plan. Let's have a look at what those individual short-term, long-term goals are for those people. And just on this, if you have a nutrition care plan in your care home that says outcome to have a healthy, balanced diet, please go away and rewrite it. Because how do I measure that? It's what is a healthy, balanced diet? There is nothing there that dictates or shows to me what this person wants to achieve. And it's my number one go-to as an example of a poor action or a poor goal within a care plan, because actually what is a healthy balanced diet to you might not be to me. I'm on a 1,500 cal deficit at the moment because I am going to be svelte for Christmas, and I am there on that. And that, you know, that is what my care plan should say. Not have a healthy balanced diet. It should be Adam wants to eat no more than 1,500 calories a day with one fasting day a week of no more than 500 calories with high protein, low carbs. That is to achieve X amount of weight loss. You know, and that is what Adam is striving towards. Without that information in my goal, I am not going to achieve my own goal. If I don't achieve my own goal and I don't get to my desired weight, I, as a group, as a company, as a care team, can't hit our KPI because actually I'm not achieving what I need to achieve. And we're failing our residents, we're failing our people because we're not supporting them in getting to their own individual outcomes. So yeah, KPIs totally should be about, you know, business and organization and stuff. I think we've had a comment that's coming. Mark, can you find it? There was a comment about people, social care and people, but that is what social care is about, is people. So actually, we need to have those KPIs for people as well.
And I think that goes back to your point, doesn't it, Adam, with the your example you gave about the nutrition care plan. That's where the S has become so important. It's got to be specific.
Yes.
So rather than saying to eat a healthy, balanced meal, I mean, for me, that healthy, balanced meal definitely includes chocolate. After every meal, I have to have a chocolate bar. That's for me is a healthy, balanced meal and minimum fruit, sadly. But for somebody else, it's completely different. So that's where the specificness really comes in.
Yeah, definitely. The question is, what is the chocolate bar? That's what I'm thinking. It's got to be a Galaxy.
A Galaxy Ripple. I do love a Galaxy Ripple.
Oh yeah, Galaxy Ripple is good. We've had a question here from Petros. Could the Chloes be the KPIs for the CQC and quality standards, the goals? Well, won't be the Chloes because they don't exist anymore, but definitely the quality standards you could definitely use as the overarching KPIs. But you'd have to definitely break them down. My only worry... go on, Adam.
I was going to say, no, let's think about it even easier. CQC have set it up for us. We have a key question. Is this service safe? So that is your KPI for your service to be safe. We want to make sure our service is safe. The way you do that is the quality statement. So your quality statements become you sort of... I mean, to be fair, the quality statements themselves are KPIs. You know, we support people to move freely around services, or we have a learning culture, or whatever it is going to be. I think we have to do some of the legwork. I'm sorry for butting in, but I think we need to do some of the legwork ourselves and having, right, look, the KPI is our service safe? Great, that's one KPI. Second KPI is the quality statements underneath that safe. And then we need to be setting ourselves little goals of how we make that achievable, because the quality statements themselves are so overarching. They cover so much that there needs to be a ton of different things underneath that to be able to achieve, like I say, just learning culture or medicines optimization. You can't just go, yes, that's our quality, that's our SMART goal is medicine optimization, because you've got training in there, you've got competencies in there, you've got the right pharmacy in there, you've got the right equipment in there, you've got the right people in there, you've got behavior care planning and behavior training in there. You understand all different sorts of things to be able to achieve that medicines optimization. You've got the space for a clinical room, you've got the right clinical equipment, you've got a fridge that works, you've got a business continuity, all of those things, you've got policies, all of that is to support the quality statement. So for me, the quality statement would be the KPI, and everything we do to evidence the quality statement, and if we're not doing it at the moment we have to do it, would be our SMART goals, to be able to go, this is why we're doing that. At the end of the day, it's just evidencing for the KPI, and if you don't have it in place, whack a SMART goal.
I think you'll be missing a trick if you don't try to link your KPIs and your SMART goals back to the quality statements, because you're doing the CQC's work for them to show them how, you know, all your evidence, how it links back. But I wouldn't just be guided by the quality statements and those 5 fundamental key questions. They're not going to, those KPIs, if you just say, right, all our KPIs are to do with the single assessment framework, I don't think that would be enough to run a successful business. We have to put our business hats on as well a little bit, think financially and think profitability, think about what's going to keep us in business as well. So they can't all be about CQC, should I say. But I think where we can pin them back and link them, that will make life a lot easier for you and a lot easier for CQC to see how it all blends in and comes together as well.
And Petros, don't forget the regulations. The regulations have not changed. So your regulations realistically are your big KPI. Because the regulations are what we need to meet. Quality statements, Chloe's, whatever CQC decide to call them, whether CQC survive this, it's the regulations that are tied to the Care Act. And those are the things we need to from a regulatory point of view, meet. So yeah, definitely with the regulations. Sorry, Mark.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say about actually, if you're going to use those qualities, how many there are, and like you said, actually, how much underneath them there really is. And I think you might also be a company like mine. When I put my kind of 9 to 5 on, it's actually we have our own KPIs with the organisation, so they form most of the SMART goals for our employees that we have to then review on a regular basis. So actually, if they then started introducing more, going back right to the start of this conversation when we spoke about what's the optimal number, you'd end up with hundreds that you'll start. And again, it goes back to whether then it motivates them, whether it becomes a tick box exercise, or whether people just then fall off the wagon because they just, you know, there's too many to keep on top of. And somebody, I'm assuming it's James, has put around percentages and datas and numbers, and KPIs have to have specific metrics, and 100%. And I know we've hit the hour mark, but we didn't even get into talking about kind of the data side and how you utilize data to kind of make those decisions to kind of turn the company into the direction that you need it to. But yeah, you definitely need to have something that you can measure those KPIs by to be able to drive something forward.
And this is why I think you can do it with the quality statement. So medicines optimization, for example, you know what medicines optimization is. It tells you under the quality statement what it is you're looking for. So it could be that your KPIs to meet that thing is you have, I don't know, 5% medication errors. And of those 5%, 3% are unavoidable or whatever. Hospital admissions, you know, you only have 2% of hospital admissions over a month. That is something that you might set out for your sort of self-achievement or your sort of way to measure the safety of your service under that. I'm just picking things out of my head, but it's a really easy way for us. Infections, it might be that you want to reduce the number of infections within your service because that is going to meet this quality statement or what have you, and you can put those percentages in there and measure it alongside it. Those quality statements would be a really good way to start thinking, right, what is it that we need to be measuring now to justify and to evidence our safety or our effectiveness or our responsiveness. It might be that you think, well, actually, we want 90% of our feedback surveys coming back to say this or to evidence this. And that's really good work for you to be able to go, well, actually, we haven't achieved that. So we've not met this KPI and we need to figure out how do we drive that further? How do we get that up? How do we get that higher? James, we need you on at some point because I think this is a really sort of good conversation to have because like always with you, Kavita, just because it's always been done one way doesn't mean it has to be done that way forever. And, you know, with James saying earlier about making sure that it's about people, there are a load of different ways in which actually in social care we can go, look, we get this is how banks do KPIs and we get this is how salespeople do KPIs, but In social care, we're doing it our way, and
Yeah,
this is how we're going
exactly.
to measure it, and this is what our key performance indicator is.
Yeah.
These are our measurables, and this is how we're going to achieve it. And I think it's about being brave and about going, actually, let's try and make it work for us instead of us trying to work for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, James, you're right. You have to have those specific metrics in place, which we, if we go back to the SMART goals, that's where, how are we going to measure it? Same with the KPIs. How do you know as an organization that you're on track to achieve, or you're not on track to achieve, you have achieved it? You need to always make sure that we are regularly looking at those KPIs. So it goes back to they need to mean something to individuals. So people are tracking them, they are on top of them, and they are reporting on them. But if people have just got 24 KPIs in front of them and they haven't been engaged in it, you're never going to be able to track them and monitor them. People aren't going to really buy into them. So always get people involved in those KPIs as an organization and think about how you're going to measure them. How often are you going to measure them? What does good actually look like? If your KPI is to reduce employee turnover by 50%, when we're 3 months down that road, by the end of the year, we want to reduce it by 50%. For 3 months down the road, what does that good look like? What we're expected to see by month 3, what we're expected to see by month 6. So then you'll know if you're on track to it or not. But you're right, yeah, that data becomes so useful to us as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just one last comment before we close out. So Paula, listening while she was driving, I hope you were listening safely, Paula, while you are driving. I don't want you putting yourself at risk, my darling. But I think we need to understand indicators and goals. For me, KPI, the things that indicate our service is safe. So we monitor falls, incidents, safeguarding, pressure ulcers. Literally what we've just been discussing, isn't it? How many hospital admissions have we had? How many XYZs have happened? And then caring and measure complaints to indicate, etc. Then we make goals based on what our KPIs are indicating. 100%, Paula. We were discussing it as you were typing this or what have you, but pretty much very much what we were just discussing. And it's around, I think it's also around making sure that whatever you decide your KPIs are going to be, like you've just said, Kavita, everyone in your organization knows that. So everyone in your organization knows this is what you mean by KPI. This is how you're going to measure it. These are what the indicators are. These are how we're going to be setting goals and actions and outcomes and everything like that. And as long as that message is clear across your organization and people understand your approach, I suppose that's what matters more than anything, is just having everyone on the same page. We've learned tonight that I have a different viewpoint to yourself, Kavita, who has a different viewpoint to Mark, who has a different viewpoint to James, who has a different viewpoint to Paula. And we've all got our own individual viewpoints of what things mean to us, which is great. But as an organization, it needs to be unified. And everyone needs to be on that same page. And if you can't get everyone on that same page, it's always going to be a struggle. So I would say make sure that you've got them everything clearly defined within your group, within your care room, within your home care service, your shelter.com, whatever it is. Just make sure that your policy is your policy. This is what it means. This is what our expectations are. This is how we measure responsibility, accountability. We use RACI. We don't use RACI. We do SMART goals. We do, what is it Tina was discussing earlier? And I do want to go back to it. Articulated expectations. Whatever it is that you do, just make sure it's in your policies. Make sure it's company. Make sure it's there. Yes, 100%. Otherwise, you're just never going to achieve what you need to achieve. Oh, Kavita, we've gone over the hour and we've still got more to talk about. In fact, I think we've just sparked a debate. That we have.
I think I like your point of when you said that people will interpret these differently. You've just got to do what works for you. What works for you as a service, as an organisation, and is everybody clear about that? So everybody knows, right, in our service, our organisation, these are our KPIs, these are our SMART goals, this is how we are doing it, how we've interpreted it, and what works for us. And then you'll be on that track to success.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Look, Kavita, as always, an absolute pleasure to have you on the Caring View. I'm hoping we may see you in person at an event that we may or may not, well, we totally are doing in March of next year. But yes, huge thank you for joining us. As always, a really insightful, enlightening conversation. You're making me rethink, everyone's made me rethink KPIs and what to call it tonight. Normally, I would go away and go, right, I'm going to put loads of stuff together and take it into work. Well, actually, I can't with this. This needs to be a discussion with everyone. We need everyone around the table on this, and we need to all sit there and go, right, what do KPIs mean to us? What do SMART goals mean to us? What do actions and outcomes mean to us? How are we going to measure stuff? What are our indicators? Let's get it down on paper now. Let's all agree it so that we can all agree it and start smashing these goals.
Yeah.
We can start hitting these achievements that we want to do. It can't just be one person deciding that they're going to do it. It can't be that we do something one way as a company and another company goes, oh, well, you're doing it wrong because we do it this way. No, you're doing it your way. We're doing it our way. It's one of those, we can learn from each other and we can share. But it just matters that as a group, we know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this has been the Caring View. I'm getting lost with the camera. I'm mirrored. I don't know whether I am mirrored. My hair's a mess. I'm not used to this. I've got bed hair now, which I can't stand. It's the worst thing ever. Now I realize why I used to shave my head. This has been the Caring View. www.thecaringview.co.uk. Please keep refreshing that browser. Visit us every day, twice a day, 5 times a day. Our new website is coming soon, and it is spectacular. Health Automated, by the way, huge shout out to Health Automated. They will become another sponsor. Well, they are a sponsor of the Caring View now, but our website goes live. They will be an official sponsor of the Caring View, so we will make sure we get you their information. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, Twitch, Instagram. Go find us on there. If you haven't done already, go and pre-register for UK Care Week. If you want to be involved in any of our talks, if you want to lead a talk, if you've got a topic that you want to discuss at UK Care Week, please do get in touch with us as well. We've got a couple of ideas that we want to roll. So please, Blue Sky too. Yes, well, it's the death of Twitter, isn't it? Elon Musk has single-handedly killed one of the biggest social media platforms, and Blue Sky is taking the social network by storm. So go find us on Blue Sky. Huge shout out to all of our sponsors: Prosperwell, Attis Care by Attis Insurance Brokers, CBAT, Florence and Log My Care, and of course UK Care Week. We Threads. Oh, Mark, stop throwing socials at me. I don't get them. We're on TikTok as well. If you do want to know more about Kavita, go to www.ldgtraining.co.uk. You can also find Kavita on our supply list on the website as well. I am not here next week. I am in frosty Berlin for the Christmas markets. Mark, we have got a show going out next week, but I don't think it's a live one, is it? I think we've got a pre-record going out.
Yes, we've got a pre-record with the guys from Me Passport. So I don't know if it's not commonly pushed out yet. So they're across kind of northeast London at the moment. But the plan is to scale up across the whole of England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. But it's a digital passport for recruitment. So the first of its kind for social care. So very excited. So yeah, very delighted to be involved with Carly, one of their founders, and Digi-Identity, who they've teamed up with. So yeah, that'll be a pre-record. But yeah, I think if you're looking at how you can streamline recruitment and speed up some of those processes, definitely check them out and join their waiting list for when it comes to a place near you, depending on where you are in the UK.
Perfect. So please do tune in next week. It will be going out at 7:30 as always. Until then, everyone, please stay safe. If you celebrate Christmas, if Christmas is in your household, if you don't celebrate Christmas, that's absolutely fine. I'm just saying this. But if you are celebrating Christmas, get your trees up, getting prepared for Hanukkah. Let's get all of these festive holidays sort of gearing up now, because it's that time of year. It's that time of year where we all come together as friends, as families, sharing the love. Let's really sort of stomp out the hate. There's a lot of hate going on in the world right now, and I want us to start stomping it out. So you're hearing it here from the Caring View. If you're going to do anything this festive period, stomp out the hate. Let's get prepared. I will see you all back in December. Until then, take care, and we will see you soon.